Previously on Subs and Dubs Reviews. Alrighty guys, you looking for the show with the feels? Something that's so cute you might just puke? Well, come on down to Ishikon Friends, where we ship UPS. That it feels like Bones is kind of ignoring Chika in comparison to the level of polish that Captain Earth has on it, and it's really frustrating. Since we're already here, I have to start by acknowledging a few things from the spring season video. I unfairly scored this before it was finished in the last video, so allow me to provide a final synopsis. Overall, as nitpicky as it sounds, this show does take itself way too serious. I don't really enjoy the magic concept, especially how it was introduced, and rarely shown until the later half of the series. I was ultimately disappointed in the villain at the end as well. The world is also an issue, and I just might be nitpicking it at this point, so I'm just gonna leave it at that. The last thing I will say is that even with Studio Madhouse behind this series, I was almost consistently disappointed with how generically bland everything was. The score remains the same, a 2 out of 5. I took some time and I rewatched Ping Pong, and I'm really glad I did. Thank you to Goat Jesus, who convinced me I needed to take a second look and assess whether or not I had given it the proper score. Upon further inspection, I've come to the conclusion that Ping Pong the animation score will be removed as a 3 out of 5 and replaced with a 4 out of 5. I don't anticipate I'll ever do this again, but who knows. And with all that said, on to the summer season. Today on Subs and Dubs Reviews, I review the entire summer season! Because I forget to sleep and watch too much anime. So prepare your reverse trap Jesus-Kun chicken tenders, because Kirito's back and on some next level
Totally not lightsabers.
shit! Oh man, make way. Best girl of the season making her way in.
Oh snap, look at that.
Man, oh man, oh man, oh man. Nozaki-Kun is, well, in short, a story with a simple romance cliche setup that has perfect comedic timing, a well-written story, and a uniquely cliche group of characters. It has its moments when it likes to poke fun at itself, adding another layer of genre-critical humor, which you'll find riddled throughout the entire show, which make for an overall incredibly enjoyable experience. Nozaki and Sakura are a great combination for main characters. The other side characters are one of the better selling points of the series as well, as each of the side characters become a bigger and bigger part of the story each episode. There are lots of unique genre-specific side stories that are hilarious in their own right, but the short and sweet version of this review goes like this. Nozaki and Sakura are hilarious together. The story really pulls you in and gives you the balance you would expect from a series like this, funny at the right moments and serious for the next. A 4 out of 5. In a world where no anime preview is safe from false advertising comes the land of two sizes too small, bubble butt cabooses, and a surprise horror, Rail Wars. Join Pussy Magnet as he tries to hide his boner everywhere he goes, the Jock as he's single-handedly the best bromance character this season, the Bitch as no skirt could ever contain a booty like that, the Plot, as she performs such tasks as watching people do important things, reading really fast, and talking with her hands by her face in every episode. Coming this summer, Rail Wars.
What you have seen may not be included in the final product. I'm not responsible for anything. Please don't sue me.
Okay, so Rail Wars PVs weren't really anything like what the show made itself out to be. And that's frustrating, but at least we got dealt a decent hand. To its credit, the show is actually pretty funny. Takayama is an enjoyable character, just childlike enough to be naturally funny, yet have the ability to hold his own as a character. The supporting cast is pretty great, other than the generic harem it ended up becoming. I mean, why would an idol want to hang out with someone who works security for the train company and is only in training? Needless to say, I enjoyed watching the show for mindless fun, but at the end of the day, it's nothing more than that. Some of the situations they get in and the way that they're handled are so intense or ridiculous, it's obviously not meant to be taken very serious. Though it does have a tendency to come off serious at times, I commend it for being an over-the-top experience with some pretty decent animation behind it. I didn't really learn anything about trains watching this show, but it all seemed pretty authentic as far as the setting and actual premise of the job are concerned, because I'm totally qualified to give this assessment. A solid 3 out of 5, with a recommendation to watch if you want something over the top and fun, but aren't expecting much overall. Okay, let's get to the elephant in the season, Sword Art Online 2. I'm genuinely disappointed in pretty much everything I've seen from the beginning to the end of this arc. There are a few great moments, and A1 is really pumping the money into this. It looks really good, just good enough to make Jesus-kun look like an even bigger OP bastard in the new game he's never played at and is amazing at because of reasons. I get why people like it, I honestly do. So, if you liked the first season, go ahead and watch the second season. Everything is just about as annoying or boring with no other explanation than Kirito-kun. However, I will give credit to Sinon for not being an annoying harem cow, until the end of the arc that is. She had some unique play in the actual story, and development that had a sense of realism, so I acknowledge Sinon for being one of the better parts of the show. At the end of the day, I'm still disappointed that the show was even given the subtitle 2, as opposed to options like Kirito, the Last Boy Scout, Sword Art Online, Under Siege, Air Force Kirito, Big Trouble, Little Kirito. I will be finishing everything I have to say about its second arc in the fall video once it ends. We've sure been getting a ton of Watanabe lately. I mean, 2 seasons of Space Dandy and Zankyou no Terror? Shockingly, both Season 2 of Dandy and Zankyou no Terror have been pretty solid. Space Dandy is Space Dandy. I find it really difficult to talk about it since it's totally its own entity and doesn't really care if you like it or not. If you care to hear what I think of Space Dandy, I'd point you to a phenomenal review of the first season from TheOtakuChic, and I will include a link on the screen right here and one in the description. On to Zankyou no Terror. Setting: modern day Tokyo. With the story taking place in a natural setting we're all acquainted with, it makes it easier for the team behind the anime to tell a story without much world building, since its time frame, well, is now. Everything is much more believable, and they can focus most of their efforts onto crafting the characters and the narrative. The story, a terror-filled human experience. This isn't really something I can talk about in depth because spoilers, but what I will say is that Watanabe and his team have, as usual, created an experience all in its own caliber. Do know that the story itself is not without its problems. Most of them are not large enough to bring up, especially considering what they accomplished in 11 episodes. The struggle that all the characters face, that being the will to do what they believe is right, is an honestly shown and expressed one. You can almost feel the stress coming off of Shibazaki as he follows every clue, explains everything in detail that needs to be known to follow everything smoothly, which actually is kind of a bad thing, since he's so plainly the smartest person in the entire police force and kind of the catalyst for the whole story. It makes his character a little bit plot convenience heavy. And on a side note, it must be really weird for people when I tell them that I rooted for the terrorists 9 and 12. Why would you root for the terrorist? How and why would any sane person do that? The characters. There's a very eerie dynamic that plays out between 9 and 12. It's almost like a brotherly love, but there's an added level of tension between them, especially when the clunky hero Lisa is introduced. I use the word hero sarcastically. She has a tendency to help press the story forward, but ultimately becomes a plaything for 5. 5. I knew I was gonna have to get to this point eventually. The only flaw I can honestly say Zankyou no Terror has is this single character. I would have much rather had a full 11 episode series with Shibazaki being the enemy that 9 and 12 have branded. It just feels like 5 is a constant set of forced tension because, oh my god, we didn't develop her before throwing her into the mix because why do we need to explain the villain or her motives or what she needs to do anything? It never explains why she has so much power. It never explains how she survives and why she's so terrible at speaking English. That's called a joke. The climax of her story is ultimately disappointing and left me wanting another terror attack instead, which is really weird to be saying and recording right now. When it comes to animation, Studio Mappa has delivered again. It's no surprise to anyone that they would bring their A game for this. I haven't seen anything that looks quite like this ever. Zankyou no Terror possesses a unique art style and a character design look that is very realistic and human in design, making it easier to connect to the character characters. Because of how realistic everything is drawn, you get to see little facial animations that bring out a little bit more of an emotional response than you would normally get. And to top it off with the brilliant work of Yoko Kanno, I can't really say much more on that you don't already know. And I'll stop here as to avoid heavy spoilers or a lengthy review, but I'm very excited to add this to my collection. A 4 out of 5. The serve, the receive, the set, the spike.
That just happened.
Crucial to any team is passionate individuals, those who will do whatever it takes to be the best, and those who refuse to give up. If you've ever been on a sports team, the feeling of an actual team is a unique one. It's a bond that's difficult to describe. That's one of the things that Haikyuu accomplished, upon many factors that it could be praised for. I believe this is the one that sticks out to me most predominantly. The feeling of camaraderie is clearly displayed. You can feel it in the authenticity of the characters, and a lot of this praise has to go to two things. The voice actors, all for doing a phenomenal job of presenting the subject matter, and Production IG for bringing their A game. I'm very, very pleased with Haikyuu. If you're looking for something more in-depth than this, I would point you to a review from my good friend Sarah over at 42's Anime Reviews, as she has a review of it on the way. And before I score it, here is a formal eating of words for Sarah herself. I think Haikyuu is better than Kuroko no Basuke's first season by far, and coattails from its second season. A 4 out of 5. If everyone claims that the manga is better, I sure hope so, because this is pretty bad. It takes itself much too serious for what it tries to be. It has some okay writing and the occasional joke that works pretty well, and there are a few sections of really well done and really well executed fight sequences that had me going with it. But once all the 1997 age still frames start showing up in each episode, you begin to wonder, where's the budget? Once you get into Night Raid, you slowly realize all these people are super weird and kind of annoying. Except, I have to say it like this, it's not the same. Bulato. Best fucking bromance ever. It's all pretty generic shonen. I'm the best because I have the will to fight, or whatever the excuse is this time. The worst part overall is that now that I've spoken out about how I don't like the show, I'm sure my comment section will be full of people telling me I'm wrong. So remember, everyone has a different opinion, guys. Let's respect that. Okay, guys? At the time of recording this, I've stopped at episode 14, so who knows if it will get better, but I can't guarantee I'll stick this one out. Here is a fact. Barakamon is one of the best shows I've seen in a long while. Where to start? Well, let's start here. Many of you may not know, but I myself am a father. The appeal of a character like Naru is the insane amount of unpredictability that she carries, especially when you consider that they got a child, Suzuku Hara, to provide the voice. Just wow, the realistic portrayal of being a child and being around a child all the time is astounding. Naru does so many things that had me in stitches because my daughter Korra has done the same things to me. Now, Seishu was also a fun character to watch grow. What a weirdo, seriously, the guy was wacky as hell, but was an incredibly well-developed character by the end of the series. The whole world feels completely realistic and like somewhere you could actually go visit. The island itself has its own sense of purpose and growth, as if it were a side character of its own. The island becomes a major catalyst in the plot of the story, and how Seishu is able to connect with the island and its people. With all the praise I've given thus far, it wouldn't be fair to assume that it isn't without its faults. A lot of the humor is utilized in this very annoying pan and zoom backwards effect. That loses its allure after being used 4 or 5 times per episode. Its first episode started off very strong, and I didn't feel that the second or third episode were very well done either. I feel that most of this comes from the writers and director not knowing exactly how to present Naru at first, but as the episodes progress, she is presented flawlessly and almost steals every aspect of the show. A 4 out of 5. Honorable mentions, because I may or may not be able to make a second part of this video: Captain Earth, Tokyo Ghoul, Momokyun Sword, Bakamatsu Rock, Love Stage, Tokyo ESP, Shirogane no Ishi, Arjvan, Majimoji Rurumo. Hey guys, thank you for watching the video. I really appreciate it. If you have anything to say about it, please leave it in the comments. We can always talk about it there. If you are on Twitter, you can always find me there. I am at DankDrummer. You can always find me on Facebook too, because I made that at Subs and Dubs Reviews. And then I occasionally am streaming on Twitch. So if you want to watch me play Assassin's Creed Unity over the next week before I get Little Big Planet, feel free to stop by twitch.tv/subsandubsreviews. And until next time, you guys,